So, what would your life look like if you designed it yourself? I just had a great podcast interview talking about Monica Wisdom coaching and the power of storytelling and how we are, as Gen X women, as millennial women, are rewriting our stories, building lives that we love, recalibrating everything. What would life look like if you could write it again? What would life look like if you could start life again? What would life look like if you were talking to that little girl? What would you tell her? So, we had an interesting conversation. I've been in two different conversations, one about transparency and another one about recalibrating our lives. And I think that as a Gen X woman, as other Gen X women, we are having those conversations about what does life look like now? Because we pictured our 50s looking a certain way. We were raised on it looking a certain way and being a certain way. And it is just not like that, right? So we have to decide, what is our next 5 years going to look like? What is our next 10 years going to look like? What is our next 20 years going to look like? And we're still young and vibrant, and we want to do all the things that we haven't done yet. We're writing our next chapter, but what does that chapter look like? And the host asked me today in my work, in my consulting work with women entrepreneurs, why is storytelling so important? Storytelling is so important because you get to examine your life in a great way. So there is story, and then there's telling of the story. And there is the story of your life, there's your lineage story, there's your accomplishment story, and then there is the story of your journey. And so when I'm talking about your story, I'm talking about the journey of your life, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we get to reframe the story, pluck out the guilt and the shame and the things that caused us trauma. We get to forgive and we get to let go. But most importantly, we get to accept our stories. We get to accept ourselves. And in accepting ourselves, it's entirely possible to see yourself in a whole new way. We often spend time looking and living in the past. We often spend time and energy focused on the things that happened to us that were not the best. But in between, there are also really great things that have happened to us. I've had some serious traumas happen in my life, but I've also had miracles happen in my life. And the truth of the matter is, what we think about, we bring about. So if we're always looking at what went wrong, it opens the opportunity for more things to go wrong. If we start to look at what's right, we build an opportunity for things that look right. So we get to build, we get to rebuild, we get to recalibrate, and we get to bring forth life in a whole new way through our story. And that's why storytelling is so important in my work as a consultant and as a coach, as a copywriter, as a writer, as a podcaster. Storytelling and story is the very foundation. Even in my mentorship, story is the very foundation of my work, because the truth of the matter is, when you're consulting with someone, you have to know where they are, you have to know where they've been, and you need to know where they want to go. And that is whether you're working with a company or an individual or with a group in a workshop setting, that is the premise and the foundation: where you are, where you've been, and where you're going. And that gives you clues on how to move forward and to build a roadmap for your life. So it was a great conversation. I want to come over here and share it with you, a little bit of it. It should be out in a couple weeks. If you look in I did another podcast interview with a woman in Australia talking about manifesting. It's in the shorts. It's in the last short that I put up. I think it was the last short, either the last one or the one before that, talking about manifesting. So I love talking about manifesting and talking about the manifesting stories that have happened in my life. And one of the stories I talked about was when I got a job with a magazine, how I manifested that. And the other story was how I manifested interviewing Reese Palmer and Chapel Hart on my podcast, Black Women Amplified. You can hear both of those interviews on this page, Black Women Amplified. The podcast, if you go to the podcast list, the interview is listed there. Both interviews are there, but those were both manifested. I wanted to do a series on country women in the arts. Black women in country music. And I put it out there and it came back to me, and it just happened. Both of them happened really easily. And, and I say all that because I'm not a famous person. I'm not, a A-list person, but I have built a brand that is welcoming to Black women. And I get plenty of no's, but when I get a yes, I know that it's a gift from God, and one of the miracles that I expect in my life. So I am on my phone right now. I'm going to get on my computer so I can see comments and see who's here. But I just came off the interview a couple of hours ago, and I'm still doing a little bit of work on the computer, and I wanted to come on and say hi and let you all know that there's a new podcast episode on this page, as well as a new short, and I want you to take a look at it. And you know what? Let's just keep rising. There's a lot of interesting things going on in the world. And as Black, I want to come back on and talk about the conflict that is happening, and how we can navigate all the things that are coming at us as Black women, because people are not happy that a Black woman potentially could be Black, Southeast Asian, woman of color, Jamaican American woman could be the next president of the United States. So when people dislike a group of people, they tend to take things out, and we got to be careful. We have to be aware. We have to be alert. So anyway, I'm going to come back on later. I'm going to get out of my fancy clothes, put on my comfy clothes, and I'll be back a little later to have a conversation with you about being Black in America. Take care. Bye.